Hello there, and welcome to Metroid Fusion, also called Metroid 4. This game is... It's special, so is Super Metroid. But this game is an interestingly different approach to the series. And I'm just going to let this play. As we see, Samus is approaching an asteroid belt. And that's the title screen cutscene. A little crazy, she just sort of drifts off and crashes into an asteroid. By the way, my name is Eric. I call myself Demon Alchemist. And this game is, like I said, interestingly different. If I were playing the Japanese version, I would have the option to play in hard mode after playing through once. But I'm doing this one in English because it's got a lot of text. And in Japanese, the text is actually in Japanese, unlike Super Metroid. I'd been assigned to watch over Biologics research team, so I once again found myself on the surface of SR-388. Obviously, Samus exterminated the Metroids on this planet in Metroid 2. Ooh, she looks very much like she did in Super. Oh, it was there that I was attacked by a life form I had never encountered before. It was only later that I learned the identity of my attacker, the parasitic organism we now know as X. Unaware of my condition, I was returning to the station when disaster struck. Once the X had infested my central nervous system, I lost consciousness and my ship drifted into an asteroid belt. Yeah, that's what we saw happen there. The ship's emergency systems automatically ejected the escape pod before impact. Biologics vessel recovered it and transported me to Galactic Federation HQ. However, during the journey, the X multiplied within me, corrupting large areas of my power suit. It then came to light that the organic components of my power suit had become so integrated with my system that it could not be removed while I was unconscious. Large portions of my suit had to be surgically removed, dramatically altering my physical appearance. Probably just referring to the suit, not her actual body. However, the X in my central nervous system were too embedded to be removed safely. I was given a minimal chance of survival. Then someone found a cure. They proposed using a Metroid cell to make an anti-X vaccine. Vaccine Metroid. It seems that the Federation had managed to preserve a cell culture from the last infant Metroid from SR-388. From her suit, at the end of Super. The serum was prepared and injected without delay. The X-parasites were immediately and completely destroyed. As for me, one life ended, yet I survived, reborn as something different. Pondering this fact, I realize I owe the Metroid hatchling my life twice over. We'll soon be arriving at the BSL research station. I must prepare for docking. The ship's computer has notified me of our approach to the Biologic Space Labs, or BSL research station. During my surgery, the research team sent the last batch of creatures we captured there, as well as the infected pieces of my power suit. After regaining consciousness, I learned that an unexplained explosion rocked the station. For some reason, this awoke a nameless fear in my heart. Now I'm being sent there to investigate. My mission on the BSL station will be overseen by my new ship's computer. Following the commands of this blunt, computerized CO is something I have to bear, as it was a condition of my taking the ship. For someone who dislikes taking orders, this is the second time I've found myself having to do so. It makes me recall my other CO. I love this docking bay with those big doors. I also love this ship. There's been an explosion in the quarantine bay. The bay currently stores capsules containing recent samples from SR-388, as well as parts of your suit infected by the X-parasites. The cause of the explosion is as yet unclear. Investigate. Quarantine bay is here. Move quickly and quietly. You're still unable to use most of your latent abilities. Don't forget that, Samus. Stop at the navigation room on the way. Uplink from there. Is your objective clear? Yes. Now go to the quarantine bay. Here we are! Samus looks substantially different than she once did. The fusion suit is the first dramatic departure in Samus's appearance in the series. But actually, I don't much like the default controls on NSO. And unfortunately, unlike Super Metroid, you can't customize the controls in-game. And unlike the Virtual Console, NSO doesn't have any kind of controller remapping function. So I'm going to go to my controller settings and remap them. What? Oh, I pressed the wrong thing. Change button mapping. I have a few presets set up on my Pro Controller. Shoulder switch, which just switches LNR with ZL and ZR. I use that for Metroid Dread in particular, and some other games. Stairfax 2 is what I use for Star Fox 2. Zelda 64 for Ocarina of Time, although I have an N64 NSO controller now, so that's not really necessary. Nostalgic platformers, I remap the buttons to make it more like what I usually prefer. And I have classic Metroid mapping here. Although this is made for Metroid 2, so I'm actually gonna change it. I know this isn't, like, exactly on topic here, but I want this to be ZR and ZL. That way I can still use the NSO menu. Yeah. I believe this is what I want. Oh, I gotta remember the controls change. Here we go. Yeah, there we go. Now, Metroid 4 Fusion, as you might be able to tell, is a lot more story-focused than previous Metroid games have been. Also, we can now grab ledges. Now, the visual style is a bit different from Let me restart the sentence. The visual style is a bit different from Super Metroid, but it's not, like, a huge departure. It's just mostly a different color palette. As you saw there, you can still wall jump, though it functions differently. I mentioned in Super that wall jumping now forces you to go farther away. I'm holding to the right as I'm wall jumping, and that's the tightest wall jumps you can do, so you really need 2 walls to wall jump effectively here. Right now, all the doors in the area are locked, except for the path the game wants us to go on, and that is a consistent thing. This game, unlike every other main Metroid game, is fully linear. There are other more linear Metroid games, like Other M. The quarantine bay is ahead. Biosigns are confirmed. Be careful. I will be reading all of the navigation messages and all other dialogue. There's quite a bit, but it's still only a small portion of gameplay. Ooh, I love the atmosphere. A big focus in this game is atmosphere and tension, much like Metroid Dread. Here's the quarantine bay. This is where the explosion happened. We were sent here to investigate, and all I see is a Hornode. And yeah, that's what they're called from Metroid 2. It was an X-Parasite. That's not good. When you've completed your objective, generally what you want to do next is explore. But if there's no obvious place you can go to make progress, since we don't have the Morph Ball right now, you want to go back to a navigation booth and you'll get your next objective. In Universe 2, Samus's mission here is more guided than normal, because as a condition of her taking the new ship, she has to follow the computerized CO, like she said, and he's basically in charge of this mission and is giving her orders actively. This is unfortunate news. The specimens brought back by the field team were infected by X-Parasites. The X can mimic its prey. Any specimen could have hosted it. Before the explosion, a security sensor scanned one. Gelatinous X-Parasites invade and rapidly reproduce. That looks less yellow than the X-Parasites in-game actually do. But it's cool to see that there are, like, 3 nuclei that orbit around each other inside the X. Sorry. Gelatinous X-Parasites invade and rapidly reproduce, killing the host creature. They also absorb DNA and use it to mimic the host. You were almost killed by an X infection. Only the Metroid vaccine saved your life. It seemed Metroids were the main predators of the X. That's why the vaccine worked so quickly and so well. But it has also changed your cellular makeup. You will never be infected by X again. In fact, you can now absorb any free-floating X-Parasites without a host by merely touching them. This will allow you to replenish health and restore weapons. Yes, in this game, weapon and energy pickups come in the form of X-Parasites. You may also restore latent abilities this way, so pursue freed X-Parasites whenever you possibly can. This station is home to many species, some violent ones. We must keep the X out of the breeding environments at all costs. This is vital, Samus. I'm already detecting massive biosigns in this region. The X are gathering. This may be our chance to exterminate them, but you are only at 10% battle capacity. Your chance of survival is extremely low. Federation needs you alive and on duty, Samus. Is your objective clear? Now get going. I have released the lock on level 0 hatches. Look for the blinking hatches. We still don't have any new abilities, so we can't progress farther that way, and it's also locked, so we're not able to go that way right now anyway. Oh, I love the music here. It's a very alien setup to be on this, like, derelict space station. It's also a pretty Metroid thing, so... X-Parasites will mimic creatures that we can then kill. They'll drop the parasites, and we can absorb them to replenish our health. We haven't gotten hit yet, but that would have restored my health if I was low. If I wasn't full, rather. Oh, I love the sound font in this game. Ooh, a gelatinous zombie thing. Presumably mimicking a human, although it doesn't look exactly like this dude. Also, the controls are different, obviously. This is the Game Boy Advance. There's fewer buttons. The only buttons you have are jump, shoot. R doesn't do anything right now. L aims up by default, but you can also press down to aim downward. Diagonally up, obviously. You can also aim in any direction just by pushing in the direction, just like Super. And then start, pauses, brings you to the map by default, and you can go over your Samus screen. This will show you your maximum capacity of each thing in number form. So unlike Super, you can easily check what your maximum is. The only categories we have anything in right now are Beam and Suit, and we don't even have any upgrades in those spots. We just have the starting Fusion Suit and Power Beam. There's also Sleep Mode, which is a Game Boy thing, Game Boy Advance thing. I'm not going to mess with that. And that's it. Select doesn't do anything. In fact, I don't think Select ever does anything, though I could just be forgetting something. But yeah, these gray hatches are now open. Those are the level 0 hatches he was talking about. We're now locked. Usually when you enter a navigation booth and your computerized CO has something to say, it'll force you to listen to that. I've received news from HQ. They can support you with downloadable weapons data. Once you have this data, you'll be able to use missiles. This will help against some enemies your beam can't hurt. Head to the data room for the download. The data room is here. Is your objective clear? With missiles, your chance of survival climbs to 20%. By the way, if you look at the back of Samus's sprite, you can see 3 red orbs. Here's art of them in detail. Here's the normal front art for the fusion suit, too. It's really interesting and different. But those 3 orbs are how she interacts with data rooms. We'll see that more in depth in a sec. If we go to the right here, it leads to nothing. This is in the way, we can't get through. There's no way to. You might notice a vertical shaft running through there, though that's not on the map. Interesting. There's actually... Yeah, I might as well show it real quick. There's a thing that I didn't show. That's not important right now, but it's interesting that you can see it. If you head down this way, you can actually jump into this wall and go through. Can't do anything here. Can't even shoot the enemies that are in here, but it's interesting to see that. As you can probably guess, that's a return path that we'll use in a bit. But I just find it so interesting what's different and what's the same in Metroid 4. And I usually call it fusion. I don't usually refer to them by numbers, but I do sometimes, because sometimes that's valuable and interesting to think about. Sometimes when you go up elevators, I don't remember if it's going to happen now, I think so. Yes, there will be a little soliloquy from Samus, where she thinks to herself, "That computer reminds me of a gruff Federation CEO I served under named Adam Malkovich. He called me lady on missions. From anyone else, it would have sounded sarcastic, but Adam made it sound dignified. Out of respect and with some irony, I named the computer after him." A lot of the story information given in this game is retroactively relevant to the game Other M, Metroid 3.5, basically. But the way that game handles the story is not great, in my opinion, and it doesn't fully line up with the way it's presented here, which is part of why I wanted to play this game first, as opposed to my original plan. So I'm not going to be actively referencing Other M much. I'll be referencing Fusion heavily in Other M because it's really relevant. You can stop here. It's not necessary, so he has no new information. He'll just say, the data room is just ahead. There's some optional navigation text, but it's really basic like that. Oh, another interesting thing about the fusion suit. If you notice, it is, like, moving constantly, and it's not, like, Samus breathing. Some of that could be her breathing, but it seems like the suit just sort of moves gelatinously. It's weird, and it brings to light the fact that her power suit is biomechanical. But yeah, so we're going to interface with the data room here, and it gives us missiles. Missile data downloaded. Hold R and press B. Holding R, yeah, opens the missile hatch, and now you can use missiles. Honestly, I really like the simplified controls. A fusion... Oh no, power's down. Electrical interference has knocked out the elevators. On the main deck. Elevators on the main deck. I'm going to speed through the text. Sometimes it loads in a way that kind of matters, as far as giving like tone or speed. But by default, the text comes in really slow, so I'm going to be speeding through basically all of it. This may be related to the X. I'll work on it. As for you, try to find another way to the target. If you hold A or B, it'll speed through the text, but it won't automatically skip. So each time you can hold A or B to skip through, and then read it. It's located here. I'm reading huge biosigns, so I hope your missiles work. Reload missiles, you can use a recharge room or absorb a special type of X parasite. The text is green, because they'll be green. You'll see them. Try it out. Is your objective clear? Yes. Missiles are your only hope. Don't hesitate to use them. Now find a way to the target. Missiles are phenomenally useful in combat in this game. I'm not sure how damage compares between the power beam and missile shots. By the way, yeah, that's how you progress forward, is by breaking that. I'll try not to just do things automatically. I'll try to point things out as we do them, but Those things take 3 missile shots. I have played a lot of Fusion, particularly recently, or a few weeks ago, really. But I'm not sure how damage compares between normal missile shots, normal power beam shots, and missiles. Missiles are quite powerful. At least early on, I believe they're substantially stronger than your shots. There's that vertical shaft we saw. Just like Super Metroid, there are missile tanks hidden throughout the environment that you can pick up. This game has the largest number of capacity upgrades in the series. So there's things everywhere. This enemy is the equivalent of the eyes on the doors in Super Metroid. I don't remember what they're called. The name is on screen now. I don't think they're the same enemy. Oh, I'm not doing very well. They take 3 missile shots to kill. If their eye has a pupil, it means they're vulnerable. If it doesn't, then they're invulnerable, and they will shoot a beam at you. But they drop a red X, which restores a lot of health and ammo. So they're a nice refill before you actually start the fight. They basically always immediately precede a boss fight. Although this game does toy with the setup to sort of mislead you sometimes. This game is very carefully constructed, and I love it. When you're grabbing on ledges like this, you can jump off, just like a wall jump, but you don't have to do any fancy button presses or anything. Something you might not know your first time through is you can go up here to get a second energy tank. Very, very nice. Not that this boss fight's particularly difficult, but it's very cool to be able to get 2 right at the start. I'll get into what this specific version of an X is called, but you might notice that this is... trying to do the fight quickly. There's a way to end this fight very quickly, and I didn't quite do it. This is Arachnus, the only boss in... I'm gonna have to turn the volume down on my headset, and I might actually have to lower the volume of some of the enemy cries, like lower my game volume when they do it, because some enemy noises in the game are very loud. Oh, I'm not doing very well dodging here. This is the Core X. Most bosses will release a Core X when you beat them, and you have to hit their shell with missiles to break them. If you don't have missiles, then shooting them with normal shots will make them drop X parasites that can refill your health and ammo. Sorry for that bang. Well, they'll drop those whether or not you're low on missiles, but that's just a thing you have to do if you have none. And then you just jump up to absorb it, and you'll get abilities that way. Morph Ball ability recovered. Press down twice to morph. Generally, the abilities you get from enemies, from bosses, are ones that they were using. Like, he rolled up into a ball to go across the ground. And so, we get the Morph Ball by beating him. Very cool. These blocks up here are breakable, but I can't reveal them just yet. And we're not going to be able to do that for a while. I just felt like mentioning that. But despite the very linear nature of this game, it works really well. You'd be surprised. If you just told a Super Metroid fan to the next game, if you told a hardcore Super Metroid fan in 1995 or 4 that the next game in the series would be entirely linear, they would think it's terrible. Because non-linearity was such a fundamental part of Super Metroid, and even 1. But this game is entirely linear, although there's still lots of exploration, but you can't really go different paths or anything. We'll get a little more into that later, but I want to point out that this is a new feature as well. These are climbable walls. I don't know if they have a name other than that, but they're all over the game. The reason they are a thing, and why Samus is able to grab ledges without a power-up, as she needs in a couple other games to grab ledges, is because she's much lighter in the fusion suit. She's missing most of the armor of the power suit, and so she's able to get through tighter areas like that, or get around more nimbly, like that. Recharge rooms. It attaches to your gun and refills all your weapon energy. Very useful. This video is probably going to be a little long since it's the first one, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so we completed our objective. We can go up here to talk to our CO in this navigation room. I'm not sure what he'll say next, actually. Samus, it's as I feared. The breeding environments have been infected by X-parasites. Sector 1, SRX, shows several abnormalities on biosensors. Sector 1 is a simulation of the SR-388 ecosystem. Let me lower my volume real quick. I can't. I guess when I have my headset wired in like this, I can't lower the volume? That sucks. Whatever. To get there, take the main elevator to the access shaft and use elevator 1. This base is broken up into research station, broken up into a main sector and then 6 smaller sectors. Well, they're not really smaller. 6 differently themed sectors. Elevator 1 leads to sector 1 and so on. Is your objective clear? Use the navigation room just inside for further briefing. I'm not sure, but I think that whoever allowed the X into the environment may also be linked to the earlier explosion. Ooh, suspicious. Let's go! If you don't go in there to see that message, you'll have to see it anyway, because there's a nav room on the way to the elevator. And there's nowhere else that you can explore right now. I was debating earlier if I wanted to go through this game quickly or be very explore as much as possible. And I think I'm mostly just going to explore. So while I know this game quite well, and it is pretty linear, you'll see why I try to break this later. It's possible to go very quickly through this game. What's difficult, though, is to go through the game quickly and get 100% of items. And for a mission objective, yeah, he'll just repeat it if you want him to. Head to Sector 1. This game and Metroid Zero Mission are the only games in the series that have completion requirements that involve both item completion and speed. I'm going to just explain that real quick, so I'm going to hang out right here as I talk. Every other main 2D Metroid game has requirements based purely on time. What ending you get is purely determined based on how quickly you go through the game, how quickly you beat it. That's all that matters. In all of the 3D games, the only thing that determines endings is item completion. Except for a couple games that have weird, unique requirements or don't have different endings. This game and Zero Mission are the only ones that do both requirements. The best ending is kind of debatable what the best ending is, but really, it's the one where you get 100% and beat the game in under 2 hours, which is a lot to do. I've never done that. I've never even beaten the game in under 2 hours. It usually takes me a little over 2 hours. But alright, I wanted to finish speaking first because this is going to involve some talking. It's nice that I have 2 energy tanks because in here is a new feature. Sub-Zero Containment is the name of the area, and it is extreme cold. You might notice that looks like Ridley. We'll get to that later. I guess I can go ahead and say, that's Ridley's corpse. And I'll go more into that later. But it's interesting the gun is actually behind the doors. I've never really thought about that before. But just like extreme heat, extreme cold now hurts Samus. And that's a result of her Metroid DNA. As a result of the Metroid vaccine, Samus now contains not only Chozo DNA, which I'm not sure if I've ever actually talked about that, but she has Chozo DNA. She was modified by the Chozo so that she could live on Zebes, which is a particularly hostile environment to humans. She now contains not only Chozo DNA, but Metroid DNA. She's inherited Metroid's weakness to cold. The CEO will mention that a little bit later, but yeah. Let's go. Told us to go down the elevator. Let's go. What? Well, that's terrifying. As is that. We'll see more of that later. I believe that's the same explosion, just from Samus's perspective here. Main elevator is now shut down, so we can no longer return to the main sector. For now. We also can't do anything. We can go to the right here. Can we actually go down here? We can! This is not what we were told to do. But let's see what happens. There are little things like this where you can go away from what you're expected to do, but you're gonna be stopped soon. Is he gonna say something interesting, or just... Ooh, shows us the map of Sector 2. Very small. Confirm mission objective? No. Head to Sector 1. Okay, he doesn't have anything interesting. We're not allowed to enter Sector 2 yet. The elevators aren't actually, like, loading zones, I don't think. At least they don't take very long. They mostly just break up the map. Even-numbered sectors are to the right of the main elevator, and odd-numbered sectors are to the left. We can only actually enter Sectors 1 and 2, and 1 is the only one we can actually do anything in right now. By the way, I didn't say, energy tanks add 100 to your health, just like the other games, and missile tanks add 5, just like the other games, except for 2. Sector 1's a lot bigger than Sector 2, it seems. The main elevator leading to the access shaft has been severely damaged. It will be totally unusable for some time, unfortunately. Some unknown agent is at work. Something very powerful, certainly not human. I'll report when I know more. Now listen closely. Love this music. The X in Sector 1 have invaded the atmospheric stabilizers. They must want to alter the environment to their needs. They are already reproducing. Clear all 5 atmospheric stabilizers to stop them. Is your objective clear? Now get moving. I should stop reading the "is your objective clear," because that's not interesting. I'm just going to stop reading when I see that. There are save rooms all over the game. The game's generally quite nice about having save rooms near anything difficult and having recharge rooms at the start of every sector. Oh, an important thing. We can view our upgrades on the Samus screen. Morph Ball. We actually can't see that. Well, it has missile as a category now, and we have 25 out of 25 missiles. We cannot disable any of this. I don't know if it was true in this game, but in Zero Mission, there was an intention to have you able to disable upgrades. That's a weird way to say that. But they removed it before the game came out. You can hack it back in. I'm not sure that's true in this game. At least not easily, but yeah. Once you get an upgrade, it is permanent. To exit the status screen, by the way, you just press L, or R, again. If you press L, it'll open the sleep menu. No, they both close it. Why does it still say sleep there? That's a little weird. You can hit A to see atmospheric stabilizers corrupted by X. Investigate. X spreading about. More zombies. Interesting. These colored hatches are obviously, yeah, they're the level 1, 2, 3, and 4 security doors we see on the top right there. He unlocked level 0 for us to get to Arachnus. But so far, those are the only doors that are unlocked. So if we see any colored hatch, we cannot enter it yet. There are not doors in this game that require different weapons to open, which is very different from previous games. The security hatches are essentially the replacement for that. Though there are other similar blocks, like this. This is a Garen, I believe is the name. This one requires missiles to break. Later ones require different items. Wall jumping, by the way, still requires pressing away from the wall and jumping. It functions exactly the same. Missiles are the only way to deal with them right now. Atmospheric stabilizer online. 4 units still malfunctioning. I actually forgot to point a thing out, so I will point it out with the next one. There's the fun little Easter egg in the sprite for those things. Ooh, right here we can get another energy tank. This game has a lot of energy tanks, and part of why is because, as you may or may not have noticed, I haven't gotten hit that much, you take substantially more damage in this game. Because of the lack of Samus's armor, she is substantially more fragile, and you can tell. This game is pretty nice in some ways, but it's also probably harder than Super Metroid. And although that's hard to compare, because there are substantial differences. By the way, this thing, if you look at the top right, it's a little hard to see. You'll see it better on the next one. I might just show a zoom in on the sprite. Top right has a GameCube. I'll even have a comparison of a GameCube, but very cool little detail. Among the junk surrounding it is a GameCube. 3 units, not functioning still. Those are pitfall blocks, obviously. This game is a follow-up to Super Metroid, but it's also different, like I said. And I think the biggest difference is just in vibe. It feels very different. I don't remember which way is progress. There's a save room right here that we don't really need right now. We can't go down to the bottom layer here. We can progress this way. We can't go farther now. This is a one-way door, just like in Super Metroid, although they function differently. They're more physically separated, so as far as I know, there's no glitch. Activate them from the other side, like that, or whatever. So yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and save. I might as well. Saving frequently is a good idea. And actually, I'm glad I came in here. You might notice that crack on the wall. Just like Super Metroid, this game is full of secrets, and you can morph ball in midair. This is an item that is easier to get later, but if you're good at wall jumping, which I am apparently not right now, the timing's a little different than in Super Metroid. You can get a little early. Very nice. There's nothing up there. I find the secrets in this game very satisfying. I like the structure of this game a lot, because while it is linear, you're basically just told this is your objective and sometimes, and often generally, where to head to. But you're not told at all how to get there. And so your job is still to explore. So it ends up not being that different of an experience, despite being more guided. It's really intelligently done. Look at these Zabesians. They look a little more avian in this game compared to previous games. Apparently, they don't look that different to me, but supposedly that's a thing. This is it's not heated, but it is full of lava, and so we will take damage if we fall in there. But we can pop in to get this missile tank. There's obviously more in this room, but it's not a good idea to explore. I will show a little bit how quickly your health goes down. Very, very quickly. I was only in there for about a second. I lost almost 30 health. One difference in this game is because of how the X work, if you don't pick up the X parasites that are dropped by killing enemies, they will make new enemies. So picking up drops is actually important. Although sometimes you specifically don't want to do that. And that's interesting. I'm not sure the first time that happens. I think it's pretty soon, though. Here we are with atmospheric stabilizer number 3, right? There are ceiling ones as well. There's an interesting thing. If you stop moving when she has her arm cannon, she's just put it up to grab, she freaks out and flails a bit. I think it's really funny. It's not clear exactly how she's grabbing with the arm cannon either. But yeah, and while you're on ledges, you can aim forward, diagonally down, straight down, and like that. You cannot aim diagonally up or straight up, which makes sense. This one's a little bit better because I can just sit here and you can see the GameCube in the top left this time. I could have sat a little longer, I guess, but I think you get the idea. Especially because I'm putting the sprite on screen. You notice there's an enemy in the background here. If an X-Parasite hovers over that enemy, it'll turn into that enemy. And in this case, it's spawning from a thing in the background, a nest that I can't destroy. But in this case, that's just sort of an example of infinitely spawning enemies, because you need missiles to destroy the stabilizers, and so they give you an inexhaustible supply of enemies that can drop green X-Parasites to get missiles. You're not likely to run out of missiles very often, in normal mode. In hard mode, also this door is locked, so we can't exit the room at all after entering it actually. In hard mode, missile tanks only increase your capacity by 2. Which is crazy. And you're a lot more likely to run out. Also, energy tanks only increase your health by 50. Hard mode is a bit tough. It's not too bad. It's actually a pretty fun challenge, I think. And it doesn't end up feeling that different once you get farther in. But you definitely feel it. You also take 1.5 times damage, I think. It's been a little bit since I played. There's another missile tank. They are all over. But like right now, I've gotten... You start with 10. So I've gotten 6 missile tanks already. If we were in hard mode, I'd only have 22 maximum missiles right now instead of 40. It is a difference. I'll try to show those map objectives, because they are, like, slightly different text, I think, than the CO's instructions. I suppose I could call him Adam, because Samus did say that she named him after her old CO. He doesn't call himself Adam, certainly he hasn't so far. Presumably he's not aware that Samus has called him that. He's not. But I might as well call him that because it's easier than saying the CO. And, like, that's what Samus is basically calling him in her head. This also is infinitely spawning enemies because you need missiles to break through there. Water slows us down just like it did in Super before getting the gravity suit. I do recommend heading down here before going up there. Because there are enemies to refill, but you'll get a refill from the eye door thing. Anyway, but there's a save room here. There's also usually a save room shortly before a boss. I think I am going to make this video a little longer. What I recommend doing here, actually, is just sitting here, being ready to shoot, and then going down if he doesn't have a pupil. Each of them is in a slightly different location, so there's slightly different strategies for fighting them. There we go. Red filled us all the way up right now. There's not a lot of glitches in this game, but there are some exploits and tricks. And this is one that I will show after this. Like, oh, Chozo statue. Nice. Looks like the Morph Ball. Ah! This is a Beam Core X. It has an extra layer of armor. It's only vulnerable when the eye appears. And the eye opens up, will charge, and then shoot at you. But what you can do is get him trapped on this ledge, and then do this. This is known as the a Beam Core X freeze, I guess. I learned about that from a glitch video from the same channel that did the Super Metroid one. I linked that in the video I mentioned the Super Metroid one, but I'll go ahead and link it again because it's relevant. And the Beam Core X obviously are called that because they give you beams. Charge beam ability recovered. Press and hold B to charge. The charge beam is a little different in this game because it actually affects your normal shots too. Our normal shots are now bigger, and when we do a charge shot, there's a little swoosh of energy, and that does do damage. It actually looks kind of like the Slash Claw in Mega Man 7. Unlike in Super Metroid, if you have a charge shot and then you Morph Ball, you just release the charge shot. There is no 5-bomb drop in this game. This episode's already most of the way through, but I am gonna do this real quick. There's a nice secret over here. I do know, I think, basically all the secrets in the game. I'm probably gonna miss some. And there's gonna be things I'll have to revisit near the end. I never get everything. There we go. Yet another missile tank. I'm gonna go ahead and just finish up this sector, and that'll be the end of this video. I think that'll be a good stopping point. Even if the video will be a little long. I think I'm still gonna shoot for 40-minute videos for this series. By the way, charge shots can also damage this now. And there's another trick we can do, which is to get hit, and then release it point blank. in its hitbox. I didn't read that, but it's fine. All stabilizers are now online. We don't even have to go left. Normally you have to do... I might as well show it. Normally, you need to go left here, break that, and then hit it like that. But if you just tank a hit and jump in its hitbox while invincible, you can kill it in one shot. Very nice. You now head through here, through that one-way door, and we've explored this entire area that we can right now, so we might as well head back to the beginning. That's sort of the general flow, certainly early on, is that you'll be let into a sector, you'll have a specific objective, and once you complete that, you head back to the beginning to be given a new objective in a new sector. Obviously, there are only 6 sectors, and the game's not just, like, 6 objectives. It's not nearly that short. So it'll get more complicated as we go on, but that's sort of the way it is at the beginning here. If the X is glowing white, then that means you can't absorb it, and it usually means it'll turn into an enemy before you... Usually it'll turn into an enemy. In fact, it always will. But the main point is that if it's glowing white, then you cannot do anything with it and get away because it's about to create an enemy. Are we at 50? Nah, 45. I'm gonna go ahead and go through the navigation room first and then come back to the save room. The save for the end of the video. Atmospheric stabilizers online, but many X have already made it to other sectors, it seems. In particular, Sector 2, T-R-O. I probably shouldn't pronounce them, but that's usually what I do. Tropical habitat shows abnormalities. I suspect the X entered the sector with the help of our unseen saboteur. He or it may be in Tro now. Samus, get over there. We need to put an end to this. Is your objective clear? You need to stop reading that part. Start moving. I'll brief you at the Tro navigation room. Yes, but we will do that in the next video. Yeah, that... It's exciting to get this game started. Can't wait to make some progress and show you some of the really cool things in this game. But that's it for this one, so see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.